movie.
Horror movies.
All right, we're recording.
I hope that was not picked up.
It was. Let's talk about horror
God.
movies.
Let's talk about horror movies. Horror.
Horror.
Two syllables.
All right. Here comes the intro.
You didn't share your audio.
All right, great. So we are not
Blang,
going.
blang, blang,
God damn, I'm in great shape today.
Every time you move, you just got to redo it over and over again.
Okay. Testing. Here we go.
There it is. Yeah. That's
Good.
Okay. All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Straight Chilling. Each week, we watch and review a horror film for your entertainment. You can send all questions and comments to straightchillingpodcast@gmail.com. And don't forget to keep chilling.
Yeah, we straight chillin', serial killing, 5 cold villains on the mic, got you
When I come in for the live show.
5-star ratings from the floor to the ceiling. If you get your 1 star, no time for feelings. Got a demon DJ, all the 1s and 2s, by the name Nelson, so don't get confused. So grab a seat by the fire, roast them all with 2, and prepare to hear the legend of the straight chillin' crew.
What up, nerds? And welcome to a very sunburnt episode of Straight Chilling. My name is Bob, and I'll be your host for the evening. This is episode number 251, recorded on Sunday, January 26, 2020. Tonight, we're talking about a Patreon pick. This one was chosen by our good friend Jay Moore. The movie is going to be 2007's Sunshine. Before we get into it, let me introduce the crew. Calling in from Astoria, we got our boy Randy Gandy G. Landy.
Howdy. How's it going?
It's going well. Very well. How are you? How's your year been? Almost a month in.
Well, let's look back. What a heck of a year it's been. Oh, 1 month. Been great. Been seeing a lot of the Northwest, and that's my intro. Goodbye.
Lottie. Also, well, actually last, calling in from Southern Korea, we got our boy Soju. What's up, Soju?
What up? It's your boy, Sci-Fi Stains today. We're talking hard sci-fi. We want it
A
hard.
little on the nose there.
How hard?
I could have gone Sunshine Stains, but y'all have got on to me before just naming the movie as my name. So.
There's a lot of, it's getting more rigorous.
Punny, though. Like Sunshine State. I don't know. It would make sense. You're from Florida. You should have gone with it.
Okay.
I have stains of sunshine, also known as third-degree burns.
You guys are making me doubt myself. God.
Yeah, we got to do the whole intro over again. Let's do the whole thing over again. It's not working. Cool. But yeah, big thanks to Jay Moore for supporting us on the Patreon and choosing a movie for us to review. Like I said, we got kind of like a science fiction theme going this year.
Yeah,
already.
I'm actually I'm excited to talk about some sci-fi. I don't mind
that area.
Yeah, I don't mind being sci-fi stains this week. It's been a hot minute since we talked some hard sci-fi.
Now that's a stain you just can't get out. It's thick. It's a goopy stain.
It's made of microfabrics.
Yeah. Well, before we get into the review, let's tackle a little bit of housekeeping real quick. Just a reminder, the February poll pick is posted on our Patreon website. If you support us at the $5 level or above, you get the chance to vote on a movie we're going to be talking about this February. The theme for which is going to be French horror movies, and the 3 movies up there are High Tension, Eyes Without a Face, and Raw. We only
Eyes Without a Face taking it right now?
Eyes Without a Face is not taking it. High Tension. So far, doing pretty good. Still doing pretty good. It's looking good.
Switchblade romance.
This is a reminder to the Straight Chilling crew that this is the last week of January, and we need to pick a new topic for next month.
Thanks for the reminder. On
true.
air. The sausage is being made.
We're grinding the shit out of some meat and stuffing it into some intestines.
Sausage.
Oh my God.
Intestine.
This went to a dark place quick.
Yeah. That's pretty much it for the Patreon news, honestly. Justin, what do you got going on? I know you got some stuff.
Dude, we got Bracket of Blood. Oh my God, we are heading in to the final 8. So this next round is going to decide who is going to take the divisions. So we had our 4 divisions. So in the Killers division, going head to head, we've got Get Out versus Midsummer left. Ooh, man, that's a tough choice.
Jeepers.
In the Monsters, we've got Train to Busan versus It Follows. Woo.
Oh, I know you're happy about that one, Bobby.
That's easy. That's easy.
Oh,
for me.
No, yeah, it is, but not the way
Bob.
you think it is.
The Haunters, The Conjuring versus The Beach. Oh shit.
Jeez.
And finally in Macabre, Hereditary versus Mandy. That one's easy for me, but I know
That one's a little
I'd
tougher.
be in the minority.
I think it's easy for me, but in a wrong way for most people. So if you're listening, you're just tuning in for the first time here, we have been whittling down the greatest horror movies that were released over the past decade. We're trying to find out what the best movie is. And this is sort of like
from last decade. The greatest decade of horror. The greatest.
Possibly.
Probably.
There can be only one. These are all fucking heavy hitters, man. It's going to be tough.
We have whittled it down from 128 films. These are the 8 that are left. And this will, that'll leave us with the final 4. And then we'll have a final 2. And then we'll have a final 1. And then we're doing it again.
The trial run will be
We got to recount. No. Then we are finished. Then we know who is
then we may never
number
do it
1. Who's the king of last decade?
Where can people vote? Where can they vote?
On our website, straightchillingpodcast.com. We also have several links on all of our socials, so you can find a link on our Instagram, on our Facebook, and on our Twitter pages. So we have made it easy for you, and we also will be posting reminders for the individual matchups on all those socials as well. You will have until Friday, this upcoming Friday, which is the 31st, 11:30 p.m. to vote. You can cast 1 vote per poll, so you get a total of 4 votes this week. And help us decide the division winners. So who's the best killer movie? Who's the best haunter, the best monster, and the best macabre film? I can't believe we're down to the final 8, guys.
I know. That first round of movies, they're not even allowed to be shown anymore because our bracket is so legit. Nobody takes them seriously anymore as art.
You can't. I know. They're done.
Man.
They're forgotten.
Get your votes in. Haunt the vote. You got to do
Haunt the vote. Also, we got some gaming situations going on. I was twitching last night, or my last night. Yeah, let's get my Twitch on. So if you like horror video games, you can watch me play through some horror video games every month. Right now I'm playing Alien Isolation. It was dope. I ran into some cyborgs. So it's based off the movie Alien. And you know, you've got like some robots.
I always forget about that.
And Alien. But there's this company. I like the way they did it. So in the game, there's this different company that makes like a different form of cyborgs. And their whole thing is they're like kind of cheap. But their thing is like, they don't need to look good. Like they just need to be of service, like to you. And so they're really disturbing looking because they don't try to make them look human. But it just makes it like scary. Like they put just like really plain faces on them that don't have like emotion or whatever. But it makes them terrifying, which would like be like real life or whatever.
Yeah.
So
just like real life.
Yeah. So it kind of adds even more.
It.
Not only do you have to like run from like space bandits and like the alien, but now I've got these creepy ass cyborgs running around too. I'm like, Jesus Christ. So I'm enjoying that game. You can watch live at twitch.tv/straightchillingpodcast. The streams stay up for 2 weeks per episode, and then I've been highlighting when I get the shit scared out of me as well. So if you enjoy those will be
the most important bits, really.
Those will be available as well. And new video game review up on our YouTube page. If you've ever played Dead by Daylight or interested in playing Dead by Daylight, I have a new full review at youtube.com/Straight Chilling Podcast. And that is all the horror gaming that we have.
Nice.
Ta-da.
That's a lot of shit.
Ta-da.
That's a lot of shit. Do you have anything else, Juice? Is that it?
I don't think so. Bob, you did a mini episode this past week. Did you want to talk about it at all?
Yeah.
A
Just a
mini
reminder,
episode.
did
episode.
the smallest, the tiniest episode
We
you're
did an
ever gonna listen
episode.
to.
End of episode.
I was talking about Villains, which is sort of like this bizarre horror comedy, I guess you could call it. It came out last year. I think it just went straight to VOD though, but it's got Micah Monroe and Bill Skarsgård in it, and they're sort of on the run, trying to make it to Florida, robbing convenience stores, doing what they can to get by, and their car breaks down, and they're kind of in the middle of nowhere, and they break into a house with the intention to steal a car out of the garage to haul some ass, and the homeowners come home and catch them, and they may or may not have a small child locked up in the basement. And there's some weird shit that goes down from there.
Okay.
It's
Hold
pretty,
back of the box there for us, bud.
There you go. It's pretty solid, and I rented it on Amazon, so it's pretty accessible for you to watch. I recommend it, and definitely check out our minicast. It's up and ready.
I think they just
and
did.
willing. Yeah, they did. No, they didn't. There's so much more. I mean, it's a little bit bigger than that. It's mini, but it's bigger than that.
Okay, good.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. I think we did it. I think the house is kept.
This
I think.
house has been
Hopefully.
kept.
It's been kept. Let's go ahead and talk about what we've been watching this week.
Hey gang, what you been watching?
Randy, what you been watching?
You know, I have not actually watched a whole lot this week. I caught up on Always Sunny in Philadelphia. I did that. And I watched the first episode of that new Vic Berger show. Are you guys familiar with this?
No, I'm not.
Or it's a pilot. I don't know if it's actually produced or what, but it seems like you guys know who Vic Berger is. He makes these like insane YouTube videos.
No.
Where he
I
just
am
like
not
it's like
hip with
everything
it.
is terrible level shit. Where it's just like cuts of like usually prominent figures, usually political figures, just like cutting them up in such a way that's really bizarre and hilarious. And he has a show where he goes and interviews people. In this episode, he went to interview steel workers in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, where they used to make all the steel, but there are none left basically. So he's just going around to like Starbucks and shit and asking people where steel workers are, and then like making insane cuts with people talking to him. It's really strange. It's really strange, and I do recommend it.
All right.
Vic Berger. I love that name.
Oh yeah, he's a real guy, and dude, he looks like Beekman a little bit. He's got a little bit Beekman hairdo. Beekman's World.
Huh.
Strange.
Can
Anyway.
I be referred to as Bob Burger from here on out?
No.
No, that's
Can't
copywritten
give
by
yourself
Fox
your own
Entertainment.
nickname, Bob.
Damn, isn't that the truth?
T-Bone. I'm just a T-Bone kind of guy.
T-Bone
The
Bob.
real Costanza
T-Bone
power
Randy.
move there, Bob.
T-Bone Bob. Yeah, all right, whatever. Anything else?
All right. That's it for me.
Cool, short and sweet. Juice, what you been watching?
I watched a Korean horror film by the name of A Tale of Two Sisters.
Oh,
It
cool.
was an option on our poll pick when we did Korean movies a while back, and so I watched it. I enjoyed it. It's like a little older now. It's like from 2003, I think, or something like that. But it was
Yeah.
solid. It held up well. I really enjoyed it. I also watched Don't Fuck with Cats because you guys kept talking about it.
Shit's wild.
Yeah, fucking that shit. Oh man, that shit was pissing me off. But fucking goddamn. Yeah, that was really interesting. It was really good. It's because I watched the Aaron. So Netflix does these like little like true crime docuseries or whatever, and I had watched the Aaron Hernandez one like the week before, and then I'd
really?
watch this one like the week after, and they're like so different in the way that they're kind of like played out that it was cool to like have them almost kind of back to back and just see like how different these true crimes can like kind of be, I guess. But yeah, so I watched that, and that was super interesting. And I started watching that Sabrina. They're on season 3 now. Yeah, they're on season 3. And so
That's hard to believe, man.
I know. Well, yeah, because the first one came out last Halloween, I guess 2018. So they don't even wait a year to kind of drop these.
No.
Yeah.
I crank them out, man.
Yeah.
They
So, but yeah, it seems like if nothing else, consistent, like pretty consistent, like tone wise and everything with what they've
If
put
nothing
out
else,
before.
you're not a big fan. Right?
Well, it's like not my style. I actually think it's done well because it like every time I see it, it's like got this like really comic booky like Halloween vibe. It's the main thing for me is it's very like teeny boppy. Like everyone looks like gorgeous, like all the dudes who stroll up in there just like ripped and never wearing their shirts and got the
Unrealistic body image.
It's very like teeny boppy. So but for what it is, it actually like they do a pretty good job with it. But so I'm going through that, and I think that's about all I've been watching.
Cool.
Baby.
I watched a few movies this week. I watched another Cronenberg movie, but you wish.
The people are clamoring
He's
for
just
it.
doing it out of spite now.
Oh yeah.
I'll never
Who's the
see
troll
it.
now, baby?
Oh, not me. So I watched Dead Ringers. Dead Ringers from 1988. Cronenberger film.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's sort of like a middle of the road Cronenberg movie.
Was it worth that $30 steelbook, Bob? Would you say?
Oh yeah, I paid $8,000 for the slip cover alone.
Could have had a whole army.
I know.
Army
It's
ski-doos.
totally.
Yeah.
That's funnier than it should be. So this movie is about twin gynecologists. They're like identical twins. They're played by Jeremy Irons.
Tale as old as time.
Tale as old as time. And they're definitely cooter status. So they're like awesome in their field. They're like cutting edge and developing new technology and whatnot. But they sort of take advantage of their clients. One of them's like a really smooth talker, and he like, you know, manipulates his clients into having some sex with him or whatever. And this one like famous actress comes in, he does the same thing, and then he's just stop.
Sometimes you just gotta ask, you know.
Will you have some sex with me?
Would you like to have some sex with me? We don't have to have all of it, just some of it.
Just some of it.
Just I have a little extra sex lying around. Let's use it up.
This actress comes in and they bang it out, and then one of the twins is like, "Hey, this actress came in. You should go in there and pretend to be me because we look the same, you know, and then you know have some sex with her too." And then he does. And they're like really really fucked up.
That's really dark.
And then it is
despite my laughter.
And then she starts like asking him for pills, because I guess she's like addicted to pills, and they give her these pills, and then they just start taking all these pills and like spiraling out of control and like hallucinating and doing wild shit.
What the fuck?
Yeah, it's light on the body horror. There's a little bit, but not as much as you might expect from a Cronenberg movie in the 80s. It's like it runs long. It's like 2 hours long. It gets a little boring in the middle. I would give it like a solid, I don't know, 2.5.
It's
like
a
okay.
mini cast, Bob. Okay.
Yeah, what the fuck?
It's not. God damn it.
You can't be handing out. You can't. People are getting the sex for free right now. You don't have to buy the
my previous statement. Strike it from the record. Let's move
stricken.
on. I also watched a movie called Dark Water, which is from 2005. It's a Japanese production, and is put out by Arrow Video. I picked it up. They'll on occasion they'll put out like some really really great Japanese horror movies. This is one that I'd never seen before. It's basically about a single mom and her daughter moving into a new apartment out on their own for the first time. The little girl's parents were just divorced, and they're sort of in a custody battle. And they move into this apartment that's like haunted by this little girl ghost, very much like The Ring. If you think of like the ghosty girl in The Ring, it looks very similar to that. And they move into this apartment and they see spooky things, and it's just haunted. I don't really want to say much more than that. It's kind of like a slow burn, but the way it's like photographed, it's like very, very pretty. It's like beautiful to look at. And there's this one scene towards the end that literally I screamed out loud like a child. Like, it scared the fuck out of me. Which is hard to do because we watch fucking horror movies all the time. But I screamed like a little girl.
Welcome to my world, Bob. This is Twitch every night.
Oh God. Yeah, I recommend it. It's pretty cool, especially if you're into J horror. It's solid picture. Dark Water from 2005. But that's what I've been watching. Let's go ahead and move into the main event. We're talking about Sunshine from 2007. Let's start off with the back of the box.
What's on the back of the box?
What is on the back of the box?
Answer the question.
So, this movie is directed by Danny Boyle, written by Alex Garland, which we know all about him. It also stars Cillian Murphy, Rose Byrne, Chris Evans, and a bunch of other folks. The synopsis is as follows. A team of international astronauts are sent on a dangerous mission to reignite the dying sun with a nuclear fission bomb in the year 2057. Have you guys seen this movie before, and would you recommend it? Randy?
I have, in fact, seen this movie before. It's been some time, maybe not since maybe like a year or two after it came out. I saw it. It was pretty far back, and yeah, I would definitely totally recommend this movie. If you like sci-fi, for sure, and I mean, it toes the line, sci-fi horror line pretty damn well, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, recommend.
Sweet. Juice, what about you?
Yeah, I'd seen this movie before. It hasn't been that long for me. Maybe like 4 or 5 years. But I really enjoyed it. The first time I watched it, I really enjoyed rewatching it again. And it is like, it's almost a little, it's not something I see like discussed a lot. It's almost like this kind of hidden gem for sci-fi horror, but it pulls it off like really well. Great space horror movie.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree with you guys, man. It's like, it seems like it should get more praise than it does. I think it's just kind of underseen.
Which is weird because the cast is like
pretty big.
Baller cast, big cast.
Right. Yeah. The director, the cast. It's kind of. I can't really explain why it's underseen. Maybe I don't know if it got a theatrical release at all. Maybe
because
Cillian Murphy's haircut just didn't age that well. Maybe I don't know.
No, that can't be it.
Because even like I think it's got like an appeal to even like a wider audience who isn't maybe as big into horror. Like I think it could still like appeal like to the masses. It's weird that it's so underseen and talked about.
I went just specifically to find what people like. This is the kind of movie you would expect to see like a dozen like think pieces on YouTube by every Tom, Dick, and Harry in the office trying to make a fucking video essay is going to talk about. But there are like almost none, and it really surprised me. I wanted to go check out what people thought of it. There was some other shit going on, but it's pretty under discussed even amongst like niche communities. I don't know why that is.
Yeah. Well, let's take one step in the right direction to correct that. We're talking about Sunshine. Let's preach it. Let's help spread the
we
good word.
represent the horror community now, so I mean, this is all you need.
All of it.
And Cillian Murphy has only paid 2 of us, so legally,
guess which
we're
one
in the right.
Guess which one? His hair looks great.
And one of us,
anything else?
And one of us got a sea-doo.
Out of the deal.
A ski-doo, I believe.
Ski-doo, yes, of course.
Yeah, but yeah. So it sounds like we all recommend it. So if you haven't seen it, definitely check it out. It's worth your time, especially if you're into science fiction, horror movies, horror in space. Check it out.
If you like hard sci-fi, then you need to watch this movie.
You're fixated on the hard aspect of sci-fi.
I like that there's a distinguish. Like I like that there's a line that people just distinguish with hard sci-fi.
Yeah, I prefer soft sci-fi.
Yeah,
personally.
I'm more of a soft sci-fi guy myself.
I'm a flaccid sci-fi guy.
What's your sci-fi sleep number? Mine's about a 1. I like it hard.
I'm a QJ sci-fi
Oh yeah.
preferer.
Only
Okay, this
That's
bit's
my
going
only
on.
quarter sci-fi.
Quarter sci-fi. Yeah, let's go ahead and
30
drop
minutes
that
of our
spoiler.
fucking podcast is going to be us riffing on that one joke.
That's right. Dropping that spoiler warning. Here we go.
Spoiler warning.
All right, we're talking Sunshine. So this movie kicks off with it's like a massive info dump, just letting you know where the hell you are. It's kind of like doing what Star Wars does, but without the scroll. It just talks at you for a second.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
So
just
the
the
sun is
scarecrow
dying.
talking.
Just a scarecrow talking. The sun is dying. Mankind is facing extinction. And 7 years prior to where we are currently in the story, their Icarus 1 mission was sent to the sun to launch a huge bomb into it to reignite the sun. But it didn't work. We're not totally sure why. Nobody heard from the crew. So they sent a new ship, Icarus 2, with the same mission to launch a huge bomb into the sun to reignite it. And we're following that crew. This movie is the story of that crew. So there's 8 people on the ship, and they're flying directly towards the sun. And the bomb is in front of the ship, and it's the size of Manhattan Island. It's fucking huge. So that's kind of
And reflective.
where we start. And
Yeah, they just got this big ass shield that like blocks them from the sun. That's pretty dope. Because I
Yeah.
like in the opening scene, they use that to make it like this eye. So it's like it almost looks like an iris or whatever, because it's just this huge circle shield that goes, and just it kind of sets up one of like my main one of the big positives for me about this film is like just the space visuals that they use. So even starting off with that, like that the way it looks like an eye going into the sun or whatever was really cool,
the
because
shots.
they do a lot of cool like space and sun, and just a lot of cool visuals.
They do a lot with like it's really only a couple of like things that you can put on screen when you're in the space. Like it's just the ship and the sun, and then a couple of odd things that show up here and there.
Yeah.
Otherwise, that's all you got to look at is like that and people's faces. But they really take their time showing you the outside of the ship, which I appreciate that.
It feels like I'm no scientist, of course.
Whoa,
but it
we
feels,
know.
Whoa.
It feels like all the shit that they kind of explain to you as this is progressing, it feels like halfway believable, at least.
Yeah.
You know, they have like this little ecosystem on board that produces oxygen for them. They have like these,
all your
lush
basic
plants.
questions are covered for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They like recycle
they-
water. They have the plants on board that they eat, and then also gives them oxygen.
Gravity's the only thing I think they don't explain in it, but
Yeah, they have a doctor. Like, I mean, like everybody, like there's like 7 or 8 crew members. There's like a communications guy, a biologist who takes care of like the garden, a doctor, a captain, a maintenance guy, and the guy who's like the bomb specialist who like designed the bomb.
he's like a geologist or something.
Yeah, and then
he's like something that doesn't quite
another
fit.
Woman who I can't remember. I can't remember what her what she is like as a specialist.
I think she pilots the ship. Like she's the one.
Is she the pilot? Okay.
Well, yeah, steering it as far as I understand it.
All right.
Anyway, but yes, they do. It's this. I mean, this is an Alex Garland writing expedition here, so he's got those kind of bases covered. And this is the first movie I saw of his that I can recall off the top of my head. But like, they all kind of share this like believability in the sci-fi that it's doing, up to a point, obviously. But like, he really like establishes what needs to be established and gets those questions right the fuck out of the way.
Yeah,
I appreciate that.
Definitely, it's pretty tight. It's tighter than Annihilation was. To go ahead and compare and contrast off the bat, because we got to do that. Yeah,
What?
didn't he also write Annihilation?
Yeah, he did. But,
Okay. I was wondering why you were making the comparison. Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
this
yeah,
like,
same
that was his
writer.
work too, and Ex Machina too. But that's sort of like
Machina, yeah.
slow, but the facts of the situation, sort of like the groundwork is laid really, really quickly and really beautifully in this case.
Yeah, and not only that, I feel like the science like is explained really well, but I feel like they do a really good job quickly establishing these characters as believable and distinct. So like they're distinct in their profession and their like specialties, but also like he does a pretty good job of establishing. Oh, we forgot Trey. Trey is he's the physicist, maybe.
Right.
something. He's another character, but they establish everybody with their own kind of like distinct like personalities too, and they kind of go through these different situations. So like our main ones are Captain America, Mace, and Kappa, and they kind of like have like a real like tension between them.
Well, that starts immediately with like this movie starts on them getting pissed at each other because they should say right off the bat, okay, we're about to go to a point in the sun's atmosphere where we won't be able to communicate with Earth anymore. So say your goodbyes, send your video files, and that'll be that. And so Kappa goes in there, Cillian Murphy's character, Kappa goes in there and like takes too long, which pisses off Captain America, something fierce. Which, by the way, this is the movie that made me be like, yes, great idea when they cast him as Captain America, because he's great in this.
He's a huge prick in this movie.
He's a bit of a prick.
I was all little bit of a Mace the whole way. Like I don't know, man.
Of course you were.
Dude, he was like a very forward dick, but everything he said, like, yeah, that dude took too long. That's a dick move.
Yeah.
Like, be respectful of like the people around you. And like the thing about Kappa is Kappa's always like, he's like this like pitiful like kind of sorry like, oh, I mean, okay, I'm sorry that I took too long. But it's like, you son of a bitch, like I can't send my message now.
Kappa listens to a lot of Dashboard Confessional.
I mean, he always plays that like sad boy, like take pity on me, sorry.
Well, you know
like,
why that is, and that there's like a story reason for that, but I don't think it's covered all that well.
Oh, really?
Okay.
It was listed among the trivia, but I'll go ahead and like loosely outline it now. Is that he's considered even among the crew as an outsider because he's not an astronaut. He never had anything to do with astronaut. He's only there because of the specific
made the bomb,
knowledge of that bomb.
Yeah.
So he's a man out of place already, and he's like on a death spiral mission or whatever. Yeah. So, like,
but not completely, because they established pretty early that woman who I couldn't remember, I guess the pilot, that she like she's like their confidants, like she talks. Right. I don't know if they're like dating or whatever, but like she supports him, and
they have support system. But like, yes, but he. That's just where he's coming from.
Yeah.
Like, and I think both characters are written well enough to where, like, I see kind of both their sides. Like, oh, fuck, I fucked up. Like, who hasn't made that kind of dumbass mistake? Not that big, but that
Captain
kind of
America
dumbass mistake before.
Roy raged out about fucking everything. And
he's right. That's the first impression we get of him. But you get to see like a good. I think he shows a pretty like strong dedication. He's just so dedicated to the mission.
That's his defining he's always like very like he doesn't, I guess he doesn't try to like be polite about it. It's the main, he's not like a people person. He's just like, no, we need to like stick to the mission, or no, you need to stop, like take it so long. Like he's just very forward. I relate.
But like but like that's the one time where he was not mission focused, which is why he like went from this like having long hair and a beard or whatever, and having this like heart to heart with the captain. And then he kind of turns it around, but he still resents the fuck out of Kappa, of course. Yeah, but he's trying to he's not a bad guy, is what I'm saying. Like I don't think anything he did was like too bad, except for like swinging the first punch. You know?
Yeah.
There was oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say the sort of the first big thing that we come to after that. They come across a distress signal that was sent out from the Icarus 1 ship because they're coming close to where they lost contact with that ship. So they find the distress signal and they're thinking like, well, shit. There's actually a slight chance that maybe somebody is still alive on that ship.
Yeah.
This assuming that scene was amazing.
Yeah, they're like assuming if like, you know, half the crew had died on the way to the sun, there'd be enough oxygen to support like a couple people or something like that still. So they're like, now should we go out of our way to see, or should we just keep on track for the mission? And they're sort of bickering back and forth about that. And then eventually it comes down to old Cillian Murphy. They're like, you know,
the captain makes that decision, which I think is like, especially knowing he's not like an astronaut like them. Now he's a scientist, but the captain's like, they're at first they're like, we'll vote on it. He's like, no, this isn't a democracy. We're all scientists, and he's like the only one like who knows about this bomb is Kappa or whatever. So he's gonna make the decision, which. Like, he knows about the bomb, but he doesn't know all the fine details about rerouting the ship, and like he doesn't have to do all that shit. So that I don't.
The only question that was on his shoulders was: having another bomb better than going in and having one shot at it.
Yeah.
Like that was the only question he ended up weighing, and like that is the guy you would ask that question. Like, like, do we need the second bite at the apple, or is that a fruitless endeavor for us?
Like,
and then that decision just sort of informed all the other decision. Like everything else, like it sounds like from the captain's perspective, he feels like it can be done. Like he has some reason to think that it can be done. None of them think that they can't go there. So the question like really comes down to that one issue. So I don't really fault him for it. Kind of seems like putting him on the spot or whatever it is, but he's not answering the question of like, do you want to go back? He's answering the question, is it smart to go back?
Is it like more beneficial? Which like, and that's where the second rift happens, is like Captain America is like, no, like this is like a science mission that's been planned for 7 years. Literally, the computer is designed to take us there, like all this shit. And like, you guys want to like bring human element into it, like reroute the ship and they don't have communication. So they can't like talk back to Earth and be like, does this look sound? Like, does this look safe? And so he's like, no, like stick with the mission. But of course, Kappa decides to like go pick up the second bomb. And that's where shit starts going bad.
To give him a little bit of credit, though, they do mention like they've used up like all the Earth's remaining resources to create the first bomb, which failed, and then they made this last bomb, and that is the last shot they got. Yeah. So if they got there, shot this one off, and it didn't work, they'd be fucked. But if they had a second one, maybe it would work. I don't know. So there's like some
if
logic
they need double the
it.
megaton that they thought or something. I mean, who knows? Yeah. So I mean, that's what's beautiful about Alex Garland's sci-fi writing, is that he always gives you like the both sides of a moral quandary and expects you to like just sit with whatever decision's made. Like there is no right answer to that question.
Yeah, no easy answer for sure. There's nuance to it. Yeah, it's like really intriguing. Like what the fuck would you do in that situation?
Yeah, that's what's like great sci-fi does, is like it really like
beat ass.
It gives you an opportunity. It draws you into the characters first with a little bit, but then they give you those quandaries to make you identify with one position or the other. And then like you're so worried about discovering your own feelings about it that you're not even like, you can't see the strings anymore at a certain point. You're sucked in. Yeah.
So that decision leads to like another like issue. So like they choose to go out of their way to try and get that second bomb and see if there's anybody alive on the ship. And in order to do that, they have to like reroute the giant shield, because they're changing angles and they're like, they have to protect themselves from the sun with this giant shield. But the guy who's rerouting the ship forgot to do that. They take on a little bit of damage. So two people have to like go outside of the ship in moon suits to inspect the damage and see how bad it is.
Those moon suits.
They do a good job, first of all, of just like stressing one of like the horrors of just space survival, because
space horrors.
Yeah, the Space Force.
We talked about that last year.
But the first thing that happens, like, okay, like they reroute the ship and they get like some damage, but like they immediately bring up like, well, we're all not dead, like, because that like easily could have happened. Like they could have burned a hole like through our hull and like we could all just be dead immediately. So like just that, like, oh, you forgot to reset the shields, like he says like, I forgot to reset like 1 degree or something, and it's like you could have all just exploded immediately. And like and that's why like Chris, like it stresses that idea of like Chris Evans being like, no, like the smallest thing when you're like flying through fucking space with a giant bomb is like any one tiny minute thing could go wrong, and then that's the last chance to Earth. It's not like somebody can like, oh, like, you know, let's go fly out and pick up this bomb since you exploded your ship. It's like, no, that's humanity right there, because one dude forgot to reset the shield 1%.
Yeah. So I mean, it's an interesting situation to watch yourself in. So at this point, like two people have to go out, and Captain America like straight up volunteers Cillian Murphy. He's like, you're fucking going. And to give him credit, Kappa's like, yeah, I'm going. He suits up, no problem.
He steps up. He doesn't volunteer himself, because I know the captain said like somebody else gotta like volunteer.
The captain.
Well, that was.
And Kappa go out.
Nobody really got to state a position, because Captain America comes in and says, "You're getting the fuck out of here."
Which actually, those are kind of like the two worst choices, because the captain,
right,
and
the dude
who knows the bomb. Like those, are
that's
true.
Like
if they had, you need.
That's true. That's like, that is kind of an oversight on their part. They're so just like, interested in like. Later on, they go through the process of saying like, well, who's most important to survive? But in that moment, they don't. Which
and
seems like
also
an oversight, maybe.
too, they have to sedate the guy, the physicist Trey, who like fucked up because now he's like losing his shit.
Suicidal as fuck.
Yeah, he's like not taking his fuck up well. And even when it first happens, he doesn't take it well. Where he claims responsibility for it, but he does not take it well. But another great scene they do, like when they have to go out to fix it, is you see the big shield and they have to like move it to shield because they have to fix the like panels in the shield, I guess,
like on the shield.
Yeah, on the shield. And so they have to move it to shade like the two guys who are going out there, and it's just so massive like when they're going out there. And also like the people in the ship like hear the bending metal of it, of like the heat,
from the expansion.
And it's just like sounds like so terrifying. I think they do like a fantastic job of capturing like the true like claustrophobic and like loneliness and like all of this of space,
the desperation of all that.
Yeah, just like how easily like you can fuck up and like being like stuck in the spacesuit and not, but like she's like, you need to stop like breathing so much oxygen and like just like the simplest little things or you're dead. It's like, oh my God.
Nothing makes you more relaxed than somebody telling you, hey, relax. And you're freaking out.
Oh, you're breathing through all your oxygen.
You know what? You're right. I should relax.
I'm out here in space.
Yeah. No, they do a great job with all that.
They end up repairing the shield, and Cillian hauls some ass and makes it to safety, but the captain gets fried crispy.
The reason
fucking heroic ass character
is another quick fuck up. They're like, oh, we can fix this, so we just need to move the shield. So they move the shield, but that causes like a reflection they didn't think about on the comms tower. Or no, they think like, oh, it's going to destroy the comms towers, and they know that.
Like, well, we don't need it.
We can't communicate anyways. But then when it destroys the comm towers, that it like causes a reflection that then burns their whole damn garden to the ground.
Yeah, they burn their fucking
their
O2.
Food and oxygen is then now like completely burned up while two people are out there trying to fix the panel. So they're like, oh my God, we got to move it back like now, or we're going to like lose all of our oxygen and like never make it to even like set the bomb off. So they have to move the shield, but they're not done fixing it yet. And they're like, well, if we don't fix the shield, we're all going to die. So the captain's like, well, I'll just stay here and die or whatever. And like,
I guess Kappa, I'll stay here and die.
Kappa, like, you get your ass back. Another thing we didn't really touch on that they bring into this scene is the doctor, which they really needed to. The captain needed to address this shit. Yeah, the psychologist / doctor guy is like, they have this room where they can go look at the sun, like through through like a lens
a viewing room or whatever.
Yeah. But they can change the tent or whatever. And one of the things that I love about this movie is that dude is obsessed with it. So he like goes through this whole like monologue about how like if you're in a like darkness, it's like a vacuum, like you like I don't like it absorb or no, but like in light, it's like complete whiteness and it absorbs you or whatever. And so throughout the movie, he is so obsessed with just like looking at the sun with more and more intensity that like his skin, like it burning his like a sunburn, and the like, and he starts to like peel, and like just he has to wear sunglasses around his eyes, and you can see just like the color change and stuff. It's like, but also he's kind of going insane. And so when the captain is facing like imminent death and the sun is about to completely like burn him up, he's just like talking to him on the comms. He's like, Captain, what do you see? Like, tell me what you see. He's like so obsessed with it that he's like not even worried about this guy dying. He's like, tell me like what you see or whatever. It's like, dude, like that would be the same as like some guy like talking to somebody about to get exploded by like a nuclear bomb or some shit. Like,
yeah.
What do you see?
What do you see?
Yeah, it's a fucking huge white light that's about to burn me up, dude. What do you think?
Yeah, it's real fucking bright and hot.
Well, something's coming at the speed of light to crispy my ass.
It's really cool and calming.
But he doesn't. He never gets like.
I'm relaxed.
He seems like an obvious choice for like a Chris Evans freak out or somebody to freak out on him.
Yeah,
but nobody ever really does for him. And then like the reason that he never even really gets the chance to fuck up like so directly that he gets like, you know, his ass whooped for it, because they then go to the Icarus 1 and they board that, find a bunch of crispy fried passengers in the observation room where they had like burnt themselves alive, basically. And in order to get something like goes wrong with the airlock and it explodes and they're like free floating away, and they have to like make this daring escape or whatever, but one guy has to stay behind. That's the doctor. The doctor volunteers to stay behind and then like goes into the observation room and takes in the full force of the sun. So
just like the
for
other people.
all his like craziness, he did sacrifice himself at the end for the lives of the other guys.
It's just, I guess it's like weird to me too, because he goes into that spaceship and like it's all dust and he sees that they burn themselves. Like, you're just burning yourself alive. Like, I don't like. He does like a pretty good job of it, like explaining it so it's convincing, but still at the end of the day, it's like, yeah, look, these people just burn to a crisp. Like, it's just like hot heat. Like, the band.
It's God. It's like he's like worshiping it. He's totally obsessed and consumed with it. It's this all powerful being, and that's definitely something that like that's like a point the movie's trying to make, right? Like when the sun dies, we all die. Like we fully depend on this like huge ball of fire in the sun, and like it's interesting to see like just a couple people on the ship start to like fall into like its awe, its power, and like how great it is. Much like like ancient societies used to worship the sun, you know, as like a god. And in a way, it is because it gives us life. You know, it's interesting to see like some commentary on that in this movie. Even though these people go fucking nuts.
Let's burn ourselves alive. I find it like hard to believe that you would be able. I think where this movie starts to fall apart a little bit is like one on a spaceship that like has to survive for humanity to survive. I don't think you should be allowed to manually change the tint of the sunroom to where it could literally burn you up. Like, because on the Icarus or the one we're watching, he has to like get permission like from the computer. He has to say like, can I watch it at 3%? She's like, no, that'll cause you like damage. And he's like, give me 2% or whatever. It's like, okay, like you shouldn't be able to like manually change that because this is important.
Well, no, because you might need to if you're facing like if for whatever reason they need to face away from the sun before they get there, they can use that room to see shit that they can't see otherwise, theoretically.
Yeah.
Like they don't really have a camera on the front, I don't think. That's the way they observe the sun, the thing that they're heading towards. So.
Yeah. I guess also to like convince a whole spaceship of scientists that like that you should burn yourselves alive is a little hard to swallow as well, especially when you know like all your family's gonna die.
Well, I thought about that.
Yeah.
I thought about that, and so to kind of jump ahead a little bit, but the captain of the Icarus 1 survives, and he's the one that explodes the airlock, and he sneaks onto Icarus 2 to wreak havoc there. Now he's burnt pretty crispy, but he's like body horror burnt, Cenobite walking around talking some god shit. And it's my understanding, or that like my thought about that was, I was like, oh wait, but he probably locked those people in there, and then like open the doors for him to burn, where they were huddled together with no computers or some shit. Like he was clearly like, and even in the early
like
videos that you see from him, he's clearly fucked up.
Yeah,
he's clearly fucked up.
Yeah,
and
he
he's
does
like
lose
worshiping the sun and shit before that. So yeah, he loses the shit. That's what I took from that. And either way, though, like you could, it's not explicitly stated, but that's how I like. That makes more sense to me.
That's true. That does make sense. Because that dude is definitely, he's off his rocker, and this is where
I think his name, right?
This is where they go completely like horror. So like up until now, it's just like, oh, they're just trying to survive. It's space, and it's pretty like grounded. Like it's you know like, oh, we're floating through space. You got to breathe right.
It's gravity. It's like a good version of Gravity for like the first 45 minutes to an hour.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden there's this like insane like killer on the loose that came from space.
The camera literally will not focus on.
Yeah,
won't do it, which is kind of a bummer. I wish they showed.
Yeah, I took that note. Even the editing that they do, even when they go on the ship. Now I thought they might be trying to do a little bit of like Event Horizon mixed with like The Exorcist or something, but they do these like quick flashes of like pictures of like the old crew that burn themselves, and then also of like the captain kind of burn up. It's like so quick, and I was like, I don't like it's as frequently as they did it. I didn't like it. Like I was like, okay, maybe once or twice, but
I didn't like how long they did. Like, it seems like when you see Pazuzu or something in The Exorcist, it's hidden. Maybe it's the difference is that it was hidden in the dark.
Yeah.
And when they showed these people's faces, it was like just a really blown out picture. Whenever the flashlight
it looked like they
in the camera lens or something. Yeah, and it just to me it looks more like it's like more obvious and therefore more like, well, okay, like Pazuzu, you kind of like, did I even see that, or am I sure that I saw that?
Yeah.
With this
one,
it was
like,
pretty obvious.
Those are happy people with like laser around their necks. What's going on?
Yeah, and they do it like
make
a
it out.
lot. Like they do it like too many times. So I wasn't about that editing style.
It's a little jarring.
It
wasn't my favorite thing, but I didn't hate it either. I don't say it didn't detract for me.
It was kind of weird coming from like what we had seen before too, where everything seemed pretty like grounded and like normal as far as like even filmmaking and CGI goes. And then all of a sudden it's like, now this is a horror movie. See, we're flashing images in your face. I was like, okay, like maybe tone it down a scotch.
Well, 7 had just come out like 7 years before this. So I had to keep going with that.
So then, it's horror and like at this point, so like we've lost a couple people. And that's good for them because they're like, oh, we lost a lot of oxygen. Only like 4 people can survive to the point of where we need to deliver the bomb. And so they lose the doctor, and then they also lose the guy who does communications, who's now the new captain, because he flies away in space when the airlock.
He has a little Jeremiah Sand moment there.
He has a moment.
A little cooter moment.
Harvey. I saw a little trivia about that. I don't know if you're going to cover it.
Me too, man.
Yeah, okay.
We sure are. We sure are.
Good. It might be important for our cooter discussion.
It might be.
And so Harvey's gone, the doctor's gone, and then Trey kills himself ultimately. So they do another like moment where they're like, okay, we have to make decisions, and they do a vote. And they vote to kill Trey, but Trey already commits suicide.
They think Trey's the one that sabotaged the airlock, like when the Icarus 1 and 2 are docked, and it just randomly detaches and fucks up. They think he did it because they don't know about the Captain of Icarus Run being alive and have to crispy who really did. So they go to kill Trey because they think he's like a traitor and they need to off somebody so they can still breathe.
Yeah, that's the other thing is like they have to make like this whole moral thing about this whole discussion again about like, well, we're not going to be able to make it with this many people on board, so somebody's got to get the knife.
The greater good, we gotta
which
do
in this
right,
case it actually kind of is the right thing to do in some capacity.
And then on this is the one time too where
thank God, really.
Kappa and Mace are actually like in tune because Kappa's just like, fuck it, kill him.
Only Rose Byrne is like, no, I'm not going to do that. But then she's just totally is going to let it happen. So you can't vote.
Well, there's no stopping Mace because he'll beat ass.
He sure will beat some ass.
Rob, he's just trying to, be alpha male. Somebody's got to make the decisions, Bob.
It might as well be Captain fucking America, baby.
Everybody else, and he takes the responsibility. He's going to kill him. He's not putting it on anybody else's shoulders, Bob.
In this movie, he's Captain fucking Planet. He's saving the whole planet in this movie, really. Motherfucker.
That's the thing is like when you get when this is one of those rare movies where like the stakes are like 100%. Like you couldn't have more at stake than what's at stake right now. For every person that has ever lived could be wiped out unless you succeed.
Yeah.
Like when you got to go to the question of are the means worth the ends, which is Machiavellian. But it's literally acceptable to some extent to do a lot of horrible shit.
Yeah. At this point, it's the end of fucking everything. So you do what you got to do, I guess.
So when Captain America goes to he's going to take a scalpel to kill Trey, and there's several scalpels missing. I don't know if you guys picked up on it.
Yeah, I saw that too.
So it kind of gives like the foreshadowing of, hey, there's somebody else on board with a scalpel other than you and Trey who's killed himself. And so I like how they reveal it. So like everybody just kind of disperses after Trey's dead, like they're dealing with their shit. And old Kappa, he's just like working, and the computer comes on. It's like, hey, you're dying, Kappa. And he's like, yeah, I know. He's like, but we'll
I know.
He's like, we'll make it like to deliver the package. And the computer's like, no, you won't. Like, y'all are gonna run out of oxygen. And he's like, no, there's 4 people. And she's like, no, there's 5 people. And he's like, no,
And he goes,
fucking
"Gung,
computer." Yeah.
Gung,
And
gung,
then it turns out.
gung, gung.
Now here's the thing that's kind of dumb though.
Okay, tell me
So
what's dumb.
the computer tells him, like, hey, there's
Mhm.
5 people online. And she's like, the 5th person is in the viewing room. So he's not even stalking around. He's in one place. Scarecrow, Kappa, he should have been like, hey,
Radioing
hey,
everyone.
everyone. Yeah.
There's somebody on the
yeah.
ship, maybe.
And
Let's
even
get together.
Yeah, at any point, they have shown that they could talk to this computer.
Yeah.
Even once he finds out, like, oh my God, this crazy guy's in the, he's like, starts running away. It's like, hey, just be like, computer, call everyone, help. Like, and he like gets himself stuck in this airlock because this guy's he cuts him with a scalpel. He like does this whole like
Mhm.
monologue or whatever. He cuts him with the scalpel, and then fucking God, Kappa just screws up so much in this movie that I just kind of like can't help but like side with Captain America a little bit. Because he just like,
bit.
man, all you got to do is just like, computer, call everyone right now, help. Like,
Yeah, he
and,
does. He does, misses an opportunity, and I don't know if maybe he just doesn't feel like he has the social capital after like being blamed for everything that's happened so far.
yeah.
Yeah, but
Or
then you
what?
could just be like, ask the fucking computer yourself, man.
Yeah,
Don't
because
listen to me.
then he
Yeah,
gets
that's
stuck
true.
in the airlock.
That's
So
very
the
true.
guy locks him in the airlock, and then the crazy captain guy, he goes and kills the biologist chick.
Yeah.
So he kills her, and he's kind of like hunting everybody else down, and he sabotages the computer so they can't like fly the ship anymore or whatever, or like the computer can't help them. And then he's like just hunting after him, and Captain America sacrificed himself, so he's trying to fix like the computer, put it back in the
Yeah.
coolant, and
Yeah,
he
he's
just like
swimming in
freezes
fucking
to
coolant.
death. Yeah, well, that shit was.
Well, he
Yeah.
gets his leg caught too.
That was a pretty cool scene.
Freezes his nuts
Yeah.
off.
Yeah.
That was rough. Like, and then like, there's a lot of soliloquies coming from Pinbacker throughout all this about God and shit, and like I don't know, man.
Yeah, he says one of the first things we kind of hear from him is he says like, we are dust, nothing more than dust, and to dust we return. And
Stardust, yeah.
when he chooses for us to die, it is not our
Mhm.
place to challenge God. So it's like
So-
God's will that the earth is ending, and they should not change
Right.
that. You know?
And also, like to whatever merit there is to it, he is still alive. He has taken the full brunt of the sun at this point, presumably.
Mhm.
He is a crispy fried motherfucker, full of some melanomas and shit. And based on like the weird camera shit, he's probably like nuclear or something is what they're trying to get off. Like that close to the sun, I wouldn't doubt it. Like that much
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
radiation. Like he could be like there's probably dozens of things that we on Earth don't even think about.
He has like no
So-
skin.
but he
Like,
should be
kind of.
obliterated like the other people.
That's
Yeah.
yeah. And if nothing else, I took a note. I was like, okay, this guy, it's gotten so burned that his like skin is like can be peeled off if he has any skin, because they don't focus on him.
Mhm.
It's like this dude definitely, if nothing else, should be blind. Like, how is this dude
Yeah.
like can see?
And that's the thing is like whether or not it's like miraculous or whatever we want to put context
Yeah,
to put it in.
I guess that's
this movie
true.
doesn't really explain it, and like I don't know if maybe it's giving the impression like, okay, well, if you've lived through some crazy shit that you shouldn't have lived through,
Yeah.
what are you gonna do? Like, is your brain gonna be broken because all your friends are dead? Like, yeah, probably.
Yeah.
But also, like, if he killed all his friends or whatever, then maybe he hasn't actually taken the full brunt at that point, but has just slowly cooked himself the way that
Yeah.
the doctor
Maybe he
was
got
going
like
to.
7%
killed
or
them.
something. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe he's I don't know. It's impossible for us to say that. Like,
Yeah.
it's just another thing to ponder on, and it's like he's a fucking interesting villain because he kind of spends a little bit of time being like Shakespearean, and then half the time being fucking Jason X. And it's really like he stabs a motherfucker through the back, like this lady through the biologist through the back with a vibrating fucking knife, which I don't know what the utility of that is, but whatever. It's a vibrator with a serrated edge.
Damn.
Multi-purpose tool. I like it.
Yeah, but yeah, and then he's like slashing at Kappa and everything. Like it's toes this perfect horror line. It's great.
Yeah. So at this point in the movie, this is sort of like the climax here. So Cillian Murphy is alive. Cassie is alive, and they're being like chased down by Pinbacker. And they actually climb into the bomb payload, and they disconnect from the ship, and they're like riding the bomb into the sun, basically. And they're so close to the sun at this point, they're like time and space are like stretching and melding, and like the camera does some pretty wild effects, and like it's hard to really get your bearings straight, and like, you know, up, down, left, right, like what the fuck
it has
is
its own
happening?
gravity. Like it's like they don't tell you a lot about the ship's gravity, but this payload has its own gravity because Kappa's pushed off one edge and then slowly comes to rest as if that edge was lateral, like, or was a horizon line. Like
it's disorienting and
it's
weird.
the size of Manhattan, so I guess it has its own.
But kind of cool though too. Like I like some of that editing. There's some editing I didn't like with the horror aspects, but I liked the space editing because even then, like they like the way the bomb works is it like makes all these like little sparks or something, and so he's in it when it like goes off, and then like because space and time, and he does like a monologue about this like earlier in the movie where he talks about like how space and time are gonna like kind of stop or like change. And so like the bomb like kind of explodes, but he doesn't die, and he like can see the sun, and like it's just this weird like almost like what's that movie with McConaughey, and he like goes into a black hole. Interstellar. Yeah, so it kind of like plays with those kind of things. It's like, oh, what would like a black hole be like, or you know, like gravity be like. So it's pretty cool, like, but it's like it follows. He's always having this dream that he's like falling into the sun, so they kind of like play on that. But it ends with it working. I think like the bomb, like
that's the implication because they show Sydney where it's all snowy as it should not be. And then they just show the sun like brighten itself up. All of a sudden, which is what he said would happen essentially earlier on.
He did it. Good job.
Yeah, he like reaches out and touches the sun or God. He touches faith. It's a interesting way to end the movie, and it's like I don't know that they totally nailed those editing tricks they're trying to pull off, but also like how the hell do you accurately represent like time and space like stretching and bending and warping, like, and then it's hard to pull off, you know. And it's
also like they took swings, you know, and most of them were at least triples. You know what I mean? Like the camera work on this is mostly a great fucking movie. It's just got a few things that are a little underbaked. That's it. I would say.
I feel like they really missed an opportunity to close this movie out with "Walking on the Sun" by Smash Mouth. I felt like that was pretty.
Might as well be. So don't delay. Act now. Supplies are running out. Do you mean
this song right here?
Oh no,
Bob!
We can't hear that.
Oh, I have it queued up, baby.
Rob had it queued up.
I hope the listeners enjoyed the joke.
We are of one mind.
Oh man,
it ain't no joke.
I can't wait for another copyright claim on YouTube.
I feel like they should have at least had like Chris Evans like working on something or something, have it walking on the sun.
The ending is more like fucking National Lampoon's Animal House or something. It's just going through. Kappa survived the fall. So don't delay. Act now. God damn. Smash fucking
That was their
mouth.
first big hit.
Smash fucking mouth.
God damn.
Best band of a generation, Randy.
I found a Spotify playlist and posted it on our Slack that's called White People Grocery Store Jams. And I think that song belongs on this
Probably, yes. That is accurate.
I appreciate a lot of those tunes. So it is what it is.
Yeah.
Anything else you guys want to touch on before we rate this movie? Silence.
I just want to touch on the movie. That's all.
Whoa.
Touch me. All right. Let's rate this bad boy out of 5. Randy, why don't you kick us off? How you feeling about Sunshine?
I mean, we've made no secret that I think we're all going to give this a pretty favorable review, unless there's some trolling about. We'll see. But
We
I
take
will
this
say
seriously, Randy.
I take it seriously.
Some of us do.
We're professionals.
2/3 of us do.
Yeah,
shaking my head
some
now.
of us have given a Bigfoot documentary that's 40 minutes 5 stars as well.
Well,
so.
at least I'm
Some of
gauging
us
my.
have.
At least I give my numbers based on what I think of the movie and not what other people think of the movie.
I see.
Oh,
So respectable.
Mhm.
we're getting
I'm
so
an honorable man.
petty bitches.
That's
This
what
is
happens
Real
after
Housewives
6
of Atlanta
years.
style right now.
6 years of
I'm sick of you bastards.
reviewing horror movies. Gotta spice it up a little.
Oh, you stole my man. Anyway,
Not
let's
my
go.
man.
I'm gonna say 4.75. It's pretty close to perfect for me. And I remember liking this movie a lot the first time I saw it, and I was like, okay, well, this is the real test, obviously. It's been a few years. I've forgotten a lot of key details. Let's see how this looks now. And at the time, I didn't remember that this was an Alex Garland movie. And then when his name popped, I was like, well, yeah, okay, no wonder I fucking love this movie. Because I've loved every movie that he's had his hands on so far, as far as I've seen. So, I mean, and Danny Boyle's obviously a very capable fucking director. So it was really great in pretty much every aspect, except for the few like sort of underbaked things like we talked about. And there was also a lot of things that were like cutting room floored and things like that. So there's like sort of,
Yeah.
I wouldn't call them loose ends, but sort of like ski jumps where there used to be bridges where you just kind of have to like mentally like just get past it. Like, okay, it seems like there's a relationship between Cillian Murphy and Rose Byrne, but is there? I don't know. Like it's kind of hinted at, but not really. Is it just a partnership? I don't know. Like it, and they don't really go into it because it's not important. So, I mean, how can I really hold that too deeply against the movie? Didn't need that subplot. It just seems like it maybe had it at one point and it was excised from the movie. So yeah, I mean, I don't know what else to say. It's a great fucking movie. I definitely recommend it. It's good to see several actually enjoyable at least, but in this case, very good sci-fi horror movies because it's a great genre, but it's like it's underutilized. It's not they don't release sort of high-end sci-fi horror the way they release horror comedies or things like that.
Yeah.
It just doesn't happen as much. So I'm just happy to see it really. And I'm really excited to see what Alex Garland's up to now.
What's he up to? What's he doing?
What's he doing?
What you
there?
doing, Alex? That's our new segment.
What you doing, Alex? Cool. Juice, how you feel out of 5?
I like this movie. I think it's good. A couple things that we didn't talk about. Just most of the CGI in this movie looks really good. The visuals that they do are stunning. There was a Mercury where they fly by Mercury.
Oh, that was great,
that was
yeah.
really cool. And then just also them being in the room, looking at the sun, and it all just looks wonderful to me, just really engaging. But I think where I'm gonna drop this movie down is I appreciate what they try to do with going full horror into it, because up until that guy shows up, it's just survivor horror, you're trying to survive in space, which is scary. But then they go full force with this guy stalking people and stabbing them and stuff. But I just feel while I appreciate it, it's still not super smooth. It's got some rough edges.
Transition, you mean?
Yeah, transition and just execution. So going from seeing this amazing CGI where oh, you're looking at the sun and Mercury and stuff like this, to going to where the captain's always represented as super blurry, and just some of the choices they made I wasn't a big fan of. It felt cheaper than the scenes that had come before it. Just the blurry captain and just those long shots of the other crew. It just didn't feel like a smooth transition to me. It felt a little rocky. And then some things that just they can't really explain away. It's why is this guy so strong? At one point he lifts Kappa up by the throat with one arm. It's this dude has no skin. Why can he see? Just things like that is it's doesn't really make a lick.
Well,
of
you're
sense.
touching on there the things you could say to that we will cover a little bit in the trivia, but there's purposes for those things being the way that they are, being
Okay.
unanswered. You know what I mean? and
I
it's
just
really
felt it
just
was-
about like the subtext of the story, which I can see your point though. Like if you take it from a hard sci-fi perspective, there's a lot of questions left unanswered.
Well, I just
But
think
it's kind of weird transitioning from a fully explained world to like to a T
that's the
to
thing.
this world where things are just kind of happening without explanation. It's a little tougher, I guess.
It
of a
is. It's
transition
just
that way.
it's just rocky. It's hard to go like for more than an hour engaged in this scientific world to then just transition and be like, don't worry about that. Don't worry about this guy having no skin. Don't worry about him not being blind. It's like, okay, well, that's
It's tough to turn that off once you turn it
Yeah.
on.
Yeah. So ultimately though, I do really enjoy this movie and I definitely think people should check it out. And I'm going to give it a 4-star.
All right. 4 stars
Write
from
it down,
the Juice.
Bob. Go ahead and write it
0
down.
did.
stars
Don't-
from
I
don't
did because it's
dictate.
justified.
Don't dictate other people's
Don't
scores,
troll.
Bob.
Don't be
Oh.
such a damn troll. I'm not too far off base from you guys. I seen this once prior. I really liked it when I saw it. Like I said, I really dig the idea of people like becoming obsessed with the sun and like worshiping it like it's a god and just like wanting to be nearer to it and wanting to like fully experiencing it. I think that's just like an interesting concept, especially like
Man.
considering
You would
Considering,
love
like-
ancient Egypt and shit.
right. What are they doing? They like cats too. I like
What
cats.
are they doing?
It's
Get me some of that.
some of them pyramids. I wonder how much they cost. Yeah, it's an interesting like concept, and I like that they play around with that, especially like when the sun is dying, Earth is going to die with it. So we're very dependent on it. The people are like relatively fleshed out on the ship. Like you get to know everybody's role, and it's very believable. And like I said, the science seems like relatively believable, whether it is or not. I don't know, but you buy into it. They explain it more than they probably even need to. So I don't know. I'm with you, Justin, in the fact that like the first half where it's really just like these astronauts trying to pull off this like really difficult mission to save the world is like it's pretty much all there. But then you get to like this Event Horizon like Hellraiser type situation where you've got this skinless man running around slashing people to death. And I wish they would have leaned more into the Hellraiser. Like, give me like 35% more
Yeah.
Hellraiser, and they would have been there. But maybe like the makeup design was like lacking, and they're like, we can't fucking show that where the movie's done. Maybe
That's
it's like
possible.
one
Yeah.
of those.
I mean, it's it's possible though.
So
They spent
I
a
don't know,
lot of money on effects in this movie already.
Maybe, yeah, that's true. Maybe they couldn't really swing like
I
decent
don't know.
skinless man effects, but so maybe not showing that actually benefited the movie. But I wish they had and like really leaned into the horror of it, because that is truly terrifying. This fucking skinless dude running after you with like a scalpel in the middle of space, and you're trying to save humanity, and shit's going to shit. It's pretty scary. I don't know. I like the design of the gold spacesuits too. We didn't really talk about that much.
Loved it.
It was really cool looking.
That was like 60s throwback future retro
Yeah.
shit. I loved that.
That was
Yeah.
cool.
And it made perfect sense. Like, it even made a logical sense. It's a reflective material, and it's got like the thin little visor and things like that.
Yeah.
It's utilitarian for this particular case. They have a justification for it looking fucking awesome. Very retro.
Yeah. And I already mentioned like the time and space like bending is like a really cool concept, which is difficult to show, and I think they did probably the best they could. It looked a little cheesy, I think, but still got the point across.
It's
which is
interpretive. It's
important.
interpretive. You can only
Yeah.
abstract it.
Right. Yeah. You can only do what you can do. But so yeah, I very much enjoyed the movie. I'm gonna come in with a 3.5 on this one, which is going to put our aggregate at a 4.1. So there we are. Sunshine.
All right.
We did it.
We did it.
I'm shocked
I
that
think
you
this
didn't
is-
put it in the 4 range, but
Yeah, you troll.
Yeah. Well, there's also like there's
oh
something
god,
there's something that's sort of intangible that it's hard. I don't know why, but like after I watched this movie, I was like, that's solid. And like I don't have
Yeah.
a ton of complaints, but it doesn't like fully resonate.
Yeah,
It's one of those.
I
Like,
understand.
I don't really know why.
maybe
but
it's the
solid.
subtext, whether or not that's hitting for you or whatever. But we'll get into that a little bit.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and jump into our Rotten Tomatoes segment real quick. and see what the critics and users think about Sunshine.
Certified fresh to death.
All right.
Take it away.
Oh, sure. So we are going to now, as we often do, always do, I'm going to try to have these two guys guess what the critics score and the audience score are for this movie on RottenTomatoes.com. So let's just put your best percentages out there for the critic score. What do you guys think the critics gave this movie? Let's start with Juice.
Does it have a critic count? Like how many people rated
Yes,
this?
I'm sorry. I always forget that. The total count is 169.
Ooh, okay. That's a solid sample size. 169. Ooh, a little bump there.
Okay.
I
the comedy number.
I think this would be favorable to critics. I think they would like it. It's well written and well acted. Got some big name actors in it. Now this was before Captain America, so Chris Evans wasn't hot shit yet. But Scarecrow was though.
He wasn't hot shit, but he was the Human Torch.
Yeah. Oh, that's true. I forgot about that. Wow, damn.
Yeah,
Ooh.
you and everybody else. Chris Evans is thanking the Lord.
Yeah. I will give this 75.
75. All right, Bob, what do you think?
I'll just go full comedy number 69, please.
Well, you came pretty close, Bob, but Juice is going to pull it off by 1%.
Whoa.
76%
Pulling it out, baby.
Fresh.
Juice is always pulling it out.
I'm always pulling out, baby.
Yeah. We don't need to explore that comment. So yeah, you got that one. Just one off. 76% is pretty good. It's a solid C.
I'm always getting
which
one
is
off.
less than I would give it, but at least it's favorable for a sci-fi movie with the poster like this one has. It'd be pretty. It's got a pretty bad poster. This movie,
Oh no, that's
my opinion.
unfortunate.
It's not terrible, but it's not great. It's very 2007. It's Chrissy Orlando. So let's go with the audience, their user score rather. We're going to look at the user score. There are 168,000 plus users scores.
Damn.
So that's quite a bit. You guys take your best stab at it. Rob, why don't you start us out this time?
I don't know. It might be a little bit higher, maybe. Hard to tell. That's a shitload of votes, man. That's a lot of people.
Yep.
I'm gonna get a little crazy. I don't know. Let's say like 82%.
82%. All right, Juice, what do you think?
82. I think the audience might be lower on this actually. So I'm gonna go 65.
Gotta do math now. You
Quick
bastards.
math.
Okay. Juice, you're gonna take it again.
Damn.
The number here you're looking for is 73, slightly lower
73.
than the critic score, 3 points
Boom,
lower.
Bob.
So you nailed it.
I'm
But,
back.
whew.
I'm back.
Someone's
bitches.
cheating.
So yeah, the audience score is
The
like,
bitch is
the
back.
audience liked it about the same, but not quite. The critics' consensus is Danny Boyle continues his descent into mind-twisting sci-fi madness, taking us along for the ride. Sunshine fulfills the dual requisite necessary to become a classic sci-fi, which is dazzling visuals with intelligent action.
Okay.
All right, intelligent action. Duh.
Yeah.
Gotta have
I
intelligent.
mean, yeah, I think
I'm
I
dazzled.
wouldn't put it up. Like it's definitely not as high as like an Event Horizon or an Alien, but I
put it
mean
up
it's
there.
solid. I put it top 10 for sure.
Well, yeah, I would definitely put it among those. Maybe not Alien, but
Yeah.
I don't know. That
Yeah.
seems like a very different kind of movie to me for some reason, even though this movie definitely took cues from it.
It's no Star Wars. Okay, let's just
Oh, man.
Oh.
clear the air here.
It's
Dude,
no
have you
Star
guys seen The
Wars
Phantom
Part
Menace? That's a good
8,
movie.
Whatever that one is.
Yeah, I still haven't seen the new one, and I couldn't be happier about it. Life without an opinion about Star Wars is a free life. I feel like I'm unshackled.
Freedom.
Way to be free, Randy.
Yeah.
Way to fight the man.
Yeah. Yeah. How are you going to fight Disney?
The
Jesus
Rat
Christ.
Man.
Yeah.
All right. So that's about it for the
Cool.
Rotten Tomatoes. I could maybe spread a little trivia joy, though, if you guys are up for
Ooh,
that.
Yeah.
Sprinkle
let's
it
do
on
some
me.
trivia.
I'm going to sprinkle some trivia on you now.
It's totally time for trivia.
There's actually quite a bit here. I've tried to trim it down, but there's a lot of interesting stuff. So I'm going to go through it, and if I just start to run a little long, you guys just let me know, and I'll jump to the most interesting one. So first of all, this movie was heavily influenced by scientists, specifically a guy named Brian Cox, weirdly enough, who I love as an actor. Even better, physicist or whatever. He was Brian Cox was a leading physicist. They invited people like Cillian Murphy and all the other actors to stay in the CERN facilities. You guys know CERN?
No.
Some science bullshit, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's science bullshit. Just leave it at that. In
Lame.
Switzerland, and they learned to copy physicists' mannerisms. Murphy ended up copying some of Cox's personal idiosyncrasies, such as frequent hand movements. The actor also studied Henri Georges Clouzot's classic The Wages of Fear, 1953 film, to have an understanding of the type of suspense that Danny Boyle was attempting to create. Murphy has claimed that his involvement in Sunshine converted him from agnosticism to atheism.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's going to come up again.
I don't know if that's a huge leap.
It's a weird entry into IMDb's trivia section. It kind of encompasses quite a few things. But yeah. So here's some more sciencey information for the hard sci-fi in all of this. The plot does not revolve around the sun dying in the normal sense. This is not due for around 5 billion years based on our understanding of nuclear fusion. It has instead been, quote, infected with a, quote, Q ball, like the letter Q, a supersymmetric nucleus left over from the Big Bang that is disrupting the normal matter. This is a theoretical particle that scientists at CERN are currently trying to confirm and was one of the many contributions of the Science Advisor. The film's bomb is meant to blast the cue ball to its constituent parts, which will then naturally decay, allowing the sun to return to normal. Now, I followed about 3/4 of that.
I think it's like intriguing that it's like possibly real. Like they're like, oh, it's theoretical, but like the idea, because I think we take like for granted, like, oh, the sun will be around for billions of years. But if there was like some particle that could like eat it up or some shit, they were like, oh shit, that's
who's to say our sun out of the millions of stars is the one that's gonna be healthy until the day it dies of old age. Who knows?
Yeah.
There's also some there's some sci-fi leaps in this movie too, obviously. Danny Boyle, however, found that working on a sci-fi project was so exhausting that he vowed never to make another one again, which is a significant bummer. I think we would all kind of like to see another hard sci-fi by the man here. He did pretty good. It must have
been like maybe I don't know. Maybe he took like an Eggers like kind of take on it though, where it's like the science needs to be solid or something. Or I wonder like.
They definitely did their research. They did their research, and then later on in here, I don't think I can find it right here, but they also, in an attempt to sort of keep everything really cohesive visual effects wise, they used one specific visual effects house, whereas they would have normally farmed it out to multiple to make it quicker. So it took a year of post-production to make this movie.
Oh, holy shit.
Because all that shit was done by the same graphics house. So, let's see. Bob, to your point about the fucking spacesuits, the distinctive golden color in the spacesuits was intended to make them memorable to sci-fi fans. The character Kenny from South Park was used as a design reference for the funnel-shaped helmet. A small number of suits and helmets were built as wearable costumes so the actors could experience the claustrophobia and react appropriately. So, yeah, people are really putting these fucking things on. I can imagine being pretty fucking freaked out in one of those things. I don't know. I'm a little claustrophobic for sure.
Yeah, it's got such a tiny little slit. And like the thing, and also they show like at one point he's like the air is gone and he's got to walk through like the spaceship with it, and it just like seems he falls down and
so
he's like
bulky.
Shit, like it's really hard.
I'm running for my life.
Yeah.
So this is interesting as fuck. Actual sounds received from space that were captured by a Midwestern university were incorporated into the sound design of this movie.
That's cool.
So there's actual space junk sounds or space sounds in this movie. I don't know which bits. It doesn't go into that detail, but somewhere somebody knows, and I want to know more. It's
nuts that there's like a ton of sound rolling through space.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it's not a ton. It's very much not a ton.
Just a lot of Led Zeppelin out there flying around.
So, I'm just going to go ahead and drop this big one that you referenced earlier, Juice.
Drop a big one.
And here we go. We're dropping the big one. Appropriate. In 2018, when promoting his film Annihilation, Alex Garland revealed that the character of Harvey was actually named after Harvey Weinstein, due to his often rude and snappy attitude to the other crew members and arrogant superiority complex. Danny Boyle thought it'd be funny to pay homage to Weinstein in this way after Harvey had been difficult with the handling of a U.S. release of Trainspotting in '96 and tried to cut some of the more disturbing scenes. So a little bit of a fuck you to Harvey Weinstein, not for all his crimes, but for a few.
Yeah, and that'll help us roll into a Cooter Talk soon.
Yeah, we'll get back to that in conversation shortly. Like I said earlier, the cast really went through a bunch of shit for this movie. They actually underwent space training and learned how to scuba dive. And
That's
they also,
nuts.
yeah, I know. They also took the cast on a tour of a nuclear submarine to help them better understand cramped living conditions. He also had them experience weightlessness in the zero-G environment of an acrobatic plane. So this movie had money, and they did their work on the front end and the back end. I can see why Boyle would be exhausted after going through all this.
Yeah.
He went the extra mile in pretty much every back end capacity I can think of. You know what I'm talking about.
All the back ends.
All the back ends. 750 visual effects in this movie. When Rose Byrne first saw the script, she assumed it was a romantic comedy based on its title, as you do.
I actually watched Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. I didn't realize we were covering.
Oh,
it's weird how the plots are identical.
Yeah, I watched
they're
Little
just
Miss
like the
Sunshine, and it's it's a pretty good horror movie.
Little Miss Sunshine.
Cillian Murphy and Rose Byrne also worked alongside Danny Boyle and Alex Garland in 28 Days Later and 28 Weeks Later, respectively.
Oh, yes. I always forget he's in that for some reason.
Remember.
Cillian Murphy? Yeah, that's him.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Cillian Murphy.
Guy.
I know. I just kind of forgot. I always just think he's the Scarecrow. That dude's got scary eyes. That dude's eyes are freaky.
He's got red eye.
They're like really blue.
They're using a movie called Red Eye.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a Wes Craven movie. He's got red eye.
In the original screenplay, the Icarus payload was the same size, was made of highly compressed dark matter. There was no mention of needing fissile material, and had the same mass as the moon. So it had its own gravity, but 1/6 of Earth's normal. The science advisor pointed out the problems with using a bomb that massive, so it was reduced to the mass of Manhattan. I take what the original line can be seen on the DVD in a deleted scene. So really important.
Be the biggest fucking
shit.
bomb. Holy shit.
Size of Manhattan.
No, I mean the size of the moon.
Yeah,
bomb
I know.
The size of the moon.
That's what I'm saying. It's like just the size of Manhattan is.
Yeah, I know.
That's no moon.
Oh, Bob.
So everybody fucking facepalm now. The papers pinned to the walls of Kappa's bunk are actually scientific notes of Brian Cox, who acted as science advisor of the film.
Hey,
this guy was involved in a lot of ways. Let's see. Oh, this movie was the inspiration for a Linkin Park music video for the song Leave Out All the Rest, which was released 1 year later.
There you go.
They used the same concept and imagery used in the movie.
Is there
I watched
up
it.
Skinless man running around?
I don't remember seeing that. I wasn't paying full attention, though, so maybe.
That'd be nuts.
But they are flying into the sun and screaming whiny things.
Rip Chester, though.
Rip Chester.
Yeah, that is sad. Pour one out.
All right. At around an hour and 20 minutes in, for the scene with Chris Evans' character Mace is fixing the Icarus to coolant heat to make his breath appear that it was cold, Evans was actually entering extremely cold water with each take.
That sucks.
Chattering are a real reaction.
Man, that really sucks. The only thing about the coolant, like I know he eventually freezes or whatever, but they show the coolant in like the first scene, like he's got a wrench and he's like working on something. He drops a wrench and he like reaches in to grab the wrench and like immediately it's like, oh my God, and like has to like treat his hand like 1 second in the coolant. Yeah, and then this bitch is like really swimming in the coolant. Like the way that they do it in the first, it'd be like you'd probably be dead like in like 10 seconds.
Yeah.
Like not like swimming and climbing out and swimming and climbing out. Like, I don't know.
Why don't you have a glove? Like, what?
Get a glove.
What are you
Get a
doing?
glove.
What are you doing?
Well, apparently, like he was originally going to just freeze to death, but Boyle so impressed with him that with Chris Evans that he decided to be like, okay, well, you'll also get trapped because you're not going down otherwise. You're just that fucking good.
I guess. Yeah, he got his
I'm
leg trapped
impressed
and, like,
with you.
You know what?
He did,
Good character.
it was
Let's
like
give your
pretty
character a little
gnarly
better.
though, because like his fingers were all like getting like
Oh, yeah.
jacked and bent and
He
shit.
froze
did a
to the
good job,
fucking
yeah.
floor. He did a great job.
Yeah.
So this is interesting. So here's sort of like a longer one, but it has to do with the backstories of each of the characters that they were given to prepare for the role, but not necessarily things that were covered. So Gia Milanovic, I think, wrote in the character background stories, such as Kappa had being obsessed with the Icarus mission ever since he was a kid and feeling like an outsider because he is not an astronaut like the rest of the group. Cassie was an Air Force pilot before entering the space program. She was also pregnant and had an abortion in order to be able to participate in the mission.
Okay.
Corazon felt more strongly about plants in the oxygen garden than her fellow crew member, In her final recorded message to her husband, she did not speak and instead simply looked lovingly at the camera for a full minute.
Yeah.
She
That's
also
Jeez.
the only member of the group to never use the Earth room. Harvey worked on the Icarus 1 mission as a junior engineer. Out of the whole group, he has scored the highest in all of the fitness tests. His only weakness is his dependence and attachment to his wife and the fear that he will never see her again. He struggles with this throughout the whole mission. Captain
You
Kaneda
weak
is...
son of a bitch.
Fuck your wife. Kaneda is a very protective of Kappa because he knows that he feels like an outsider. He is obsessed with Icarus 1 and what led to its downfall. Mace, Chris Evans, comes from a military family. Both his parents were pilots and grew up in military bases. He is very clear-headed, and when he attacked Kappa, it was the exception and not the rule. He has pride and is honest. Unfortunately, this comes across as rude or cold to those around him. Mace developed feelings for Cassie on the Icarus 2 training camp, but stifled and ignored these feelings in order to focus on the mission. As a result, he dreams of her every night.
Wait, who does?
Damn.
That's Mace. That's fucking
Wet dreams
Chris Evans.
over here.
Chris
Dreams
Evans is
of
just
Cassie every
that
night?
explains everything. Yeah,
Mhm.
he's got blue balls, and that's the issue, obviously.
And it's not from the coolant.
I didn't get any of that.
I know. Well, this was just given to him. They didn't
Yeah.
cover any. Like there was a lot of things. Actually, this kind of helps explain this more a little bit too. They originally did plan to have a sex scene between Kappa and Cassie in the ship's oxygen garden. They eventually scrapped it because Danny Boyle felt that the idea of sex and romance in space would be too ridiculous. So, which I kind of appreciate that. These guys, the stakes are so high for these guys. Like it makes
Yeah.
perfect
Yeah.
sense that they would just
Don't
be
have
like,
sex in my oxygen garden either. Come on, you got to bunk for
yeah,
that shit.
I gotta breathe
No,
that.
I got to breathe
Yeah,
it.
breathe in your sex stink.
Ugh. Ugh, why does it smell like brute body spray in here?
Is somebody fucking the O2 garden again? Damn it!
I can taste
damn
it.
it.
God damn it.
It was you,
Take a
Kappa, wasn't it? You
shower.
son of a bitch.
God.
Eat less pineapple.
Damn.
The DVD commentaries from director Danny Boyle and consultant Brian Cox, conflict on whether Trey actually committed suicide as it first appears, or whether Pinbacker killed Trey and made it look like a suicide.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Which is what happened according to Boyle.
Yeah.
Cox states that Benedict Wong felt his character had in fact committed suicide. When Mace opens the drawer, there are 2 scalpels missing, which could support either scenario. However, it seems very unlikely that the insane Pinbacker would have the sufficient motive or patience to fake Trey's suicide.
Yeah,
especially
that's true.
When the latter is seen trying to murder the rest of the crew as fast as he can.
Yeah, and he was in like the Earth room where it was like peaceful.
Yeah.
Definitely made
I
it
feel
seem
like
like he
killed
committed suicide.
Yeah, I kind of feel that way too.
You want to hit us with one more and then jump into some cooter talk?
Oh
Yes,
boy.
sir.
Yes. Oh boy, there's so many though.
Pick one, Randy.
I'm gonna give you 2. This one's short. The sound
Damn
of
it,
Icarus
Frank.
One's distress signal was again used as an alien distress signal in the 2011 prequel of The Thing.
Oh,
There you
cool.
go. There
Okay.
you go. Reused, which I haven't seen that yet. And then Alex Garland wrote the film as a love letter to psychologically minded science fiction and as a film about atheism and meeting God. He and later Danny Boyle differed in their interpretation of this aspect of the film, but found that it did not affect the content of the movie. Garland remarks that they had reached, quote, the same two interpretations that could be made from the world around us. So you've got sort of like a believer in some sort of order and power, and then a hard atheist who is Alex Garland, who wrote this story. So like the thing about Cillian Murphy becoming an atheist, that makes a lot more sense when you think about what they were talking about when making this movie.
Yeah.
And you know, the character of Pinbacker was meant to resonate as sort of a representative of like fundamentalist religion, and how destructive it can be based on this idea that we shouldn't have control. We don't have control, so why would we stand in the way of whatever is controlling the world or whatever? So yeah, it's kind of like it's a heavily atheistic movie, and they actually removed some of that. They pulled some of that back as a result of Danny Boyle's like disagreement on that topic. It seems like. I thought it was pretty fucking interesting. So that's part of the subtext that really kind of pushed me to more like the movie even more, because it's like what it had to say was largely getting lost in the really cool action and really great visuals. But it's got something to say about religion, which is about the heaviest topic you can find. So I was interested. I was pretty interested in that.
Yeah, that definitely dropped it for me because I don't like to mix politics in my films.
Oh, I don't like movies with points.
I won't have it. I won't have it. There's no room for it.
There's no.
I just want a movie about the sun without fucking politics.
I'm just going to go outside and literally stare at the sun for an hour and a half, and that's a better movie than Sunshine. Fuck this movie.
Fuck this movie. I do that every day anyway.
God. Fuck this movie.
Let's every day. Let's go ahead and talk about cooters.
Okay.
Cooter of the week.
All right, we got to
going hunting.
Cooter type. So we got to pin down a one person. Well, we don't have to, but we're gonna look for one person in this film that fits the criteria of cooter, which is they got to hit 3 of the 5 points. The 5 points are manipulation, smug arrogance, sexual deviancy, patheticness, and overall attire. Okay? So, or look, general look or demeanor. Aesthetically. Are they aesthetically the cooter? So, big one for me, old Harvey Weinstein rolling up in here.
Yeah, he's definitely got patheticness on lock by comparison to everybody else in this movie. Which, I mean, that backstory was like helpful in understanding that character
drops
a little
it
bit.
down a skosh,
but without it in there,
movie,
it's still like pretty cooter. You know, like within the text of the film.
So his pathetic. We didn't really talk about it. But his patheticness is like so he's the communication guy, but they like one of the first things they do is like lose communication, like in several ways. In one, they like go outside the communication zone, and then the towers are like burn up. So literally this guy in his like profession is pretty useless now. Now the only thing that he like has to ride on is that he's number 2 in command. And so like when the captain goes outside, he's like, all right, you know, if anything happens to me, of course, like you're in charge. And he rides that hard. So like when they only have one spacesuit left and they're going to give it to Kappa because he like knows how to do the bomb, and everybody else is chill with that, except he freaks out and he's like, no, Kappa, I'm taking the suit.
I need leadership.
Like, they need a captain. And it's like, bitch. No.
Yeah, that's within it sounds less cootery when spoken right now, but like the within the context of the film, it's like very cowardly. Everybody else is like, I'm gonna stay, like fucking whatever that Searle, I think his name was, the doctor. He just ends up being like, yeah, I'm gonna stay behind and die.
Yeah,
you know.
And Chris Evans at least tries to find a way for them to live. But it's so weird too, because even at this point, they know like the oxygen has been destroyed, so they really don't have a way to live anyways. Like everybody's gonna die.
Yep.
So it's like,
it's true. Like but he's too much of a exactly. His life's already
coward.
Forfeit.
Yeah.
He's too much of a coward to let his life go. Which I mean,
yeah,
that's about as good of a thing to be a coward about as anybody. But like you took this mission.
Yeah.
You took the mission. So you take the mission. This is like the mission of all time. You can either go out a hero or you can go out
as zero.
Like,
zero.
You go out with everyone else, or you can be a hero. That's it.
I guess he's got like some smug arrogance too, because they're kind of like, well, like you're useless, and he's like, I think the plea of like the captain like It's like, no, I'm so important that this mission needs me to survive and not the bomb maker. It's like, no, like we have no
The smugness comes directly from Pinbacker. That's the only person in this movie that's smug, I would say. Really.
Yeah.
And he's smug because he's an insane fundamentalist who thinks that he's Mr. Smeed, God's hook.
Yeah.
So, like,
Mr. Smeed.
Yeah, he's.
Damn.
I don't know why that was the parallel, but that's what happens. So,
digging deep.
There's no real sexual deviance in this movie, surprisingly. Nobody's creeping.
No, there's nobody's creeping, and that's the other thing. Is like people are mostly level-headed in this movie as fuck, and like the idea that they wouldn't have sex because there's so much writing on it. Yeah, I would feel kind of the same way. As like,
not me, baby.
If I'm gonna go here and of course not. Of course not. God,
you always
you're the one
pull it
fucking
out
in the garden, bitch.
Always pull it out.
I don't know. I think those two things not being there really helped the movie like pass my Turing test of character development.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a real strong cooter. Maybe the son's a bit of a cooter, right? 'Cause it's like it's pretty self-important. I think takes a lot of itself, you know.
The smugness of
it's manipulating people into worshiping it. It's kind of pathetic because it's dying.
You're see, Rob is clearly in the Danny Boyle camp that the son is a god. If you take the son as a god, then sure.
It's a major character in this movie.
He's a character. All right.
Oh yeah, I think so.
Okay.
The
same way that like Baltimore's a character on The Wire.
Now you could argue that the captain is manipulative if you think that if he like tricked the people into burning themselves alive, which it seems like he did,
which I subscribe to me.
Yeah,
I think I'm going to go with no cooter on this one. I don't feel compelled to vote for anyone.
Compelled?
No.
I mean appearance. Let's talk about Pinbacker.
That's true. That guy has no skin.
And he's blurry as fuck.
He's blurry as shit.
He's a blurry man.
Technically, we don't know what the fuck he looks like.
He's bloody, bloody and blurry. Those are two pretty cootery aesthetics, I would say.
Well, the blurriness was chosen by the editor or the camera operator. So maybe there's
when you have no skin. I mean,
okay. I mean, it's not the act of filming that makes it a cooter. It's that the man can't be focused on because he's a demigod or whatever, or he's like nuclear as fuck. So
I don't know.
His appearance, his smugness, and his manipulation. That's 3. I would go with him. He's not
pretty good.
The highest ranking cooter of all time because he's not pathetic.
He could be a cooter.
What's our 5th?
He is very self-important. He is very self-important.
Arrogance.
Rob doesn't want to do it because he believes the son's a god. That's why he doesn't want to go against his prophet.
He just doesn't want to be lumped in with the
light
fundamentalist sun worshippers.
Light Pinbacker. All right.
Reform sun worshiper here.
If he's got no skin, you think he's got no dong?
Oh, I don't want to go that far.
It's like one of those old 7-Eleven hot dogs that's just been
on the roller for like 3 weeks.
It's like a really long California raisin. Good Lord. It's like fucking, I don't know, it's beef jerky. All right.
Shit. Oh shit! Yeah, all right. Pinbacker with his California raisin dick.
California raisin cock. Band name.
Oh shit!
Called it. Damn it! We can't take it now.
I do not
I said
want
you can have it.
I do not want it. Oh man! All right, I think that's gonna do it for Cooter Talk. We're going with Pinbacker. Let's jump over into a little bit of horror news.
Extra, read all about it.
All right, so we watched a couple trailers this week. The first one I want to talk about is about a movie called Mortal, which is going to be Andre Overdal's next picture. You may remember him from Troll Hunter and Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, which came out last year. He's already got another movie coming out later this year. So this movie is starring Nat Wolff, who was previously in Death Note, which we did an episode on a little while ago. But it's all about Nat Wolff's character. He's a young man. He's discovering he has godlike powers based on ancient Norwegian mythology. So this is a Norwegian film. But I don't know. What do you guys, how do you feel about this trailer?
I didn't know that's what it was about because it was not primarily in English.
True. And the
I had a hard
subtitles were
time
also
following.
not in English, which are not
Yes,
helpful.
there was not a whole lot. Well, you could turn it on to English subtitles, but it was auto-generated, and it was as good as any of our voicemail speech to text.
Yeah, it was. I wasn't feeling it particularly. Like, I don't know. It looked like a cheap like X-Men film or something.
That's what I thought. It reminded me of Brightburn.
Yeah,
Like,
kind of.
it looks like
didn't
Chronicle.
enthuse me either.
Kind
You
of
guys
like
remember
Chronicle.
Chronicle?
Yeah.
I never did,
But
see
not as good
Chronicle.
because that one was like handy cam, so they could like get away with a lot more. But yeah, it had that kind of feel where like, oh, I have these powers, I don't know what to do with them. I'm accidentally hurting people. It's like, I don't care about that.
Yeah.
I don't care.
I'm not super sure on it either, but I feel like I want to see a trailer that I can understand completely before I pass too hard of a judgment on it.
Yeah, I wasn't really about it. He's like shooting
it looks-
lightning and shit. It looks like fucking Storm. It's got,
I
like,
didn't know it was
okay.
about like
Yeah.
Nordic like folklore or whatever. So I'm assuming
I
he's
didn't
Thor.
realize
Is
that.
it a Thor story?
which could be interesting because like he did the Troll Hunter, which like kind of dives into that mythology, which I
Right.
Maybe he's
yeah.
just
I was
doing a
into.
mythology film and then an
Yeah.
American blockbuster.
What if this dude ends up battling trolls? That'd be cool.
Ooh, Trolls versus Thor,
Trolls versus
The movie?
Lightning.
Lightning Boy.
Yeah, Lightning Boy.
I guess.
Yeah, it looks all right. Yeah, it reminded me of Chronicle, which was pretty cool. I'll give it a watch though, because I've enjoyed his previous films. He also did the Autopsy
kind of
of
just makes
Jane
me want to
Doe.
watch Troll Hunter.
Troll Hunter once more. Yeah, so we don't have a definitive release date as of yet, but it's going to be dropping later this year. So keep your eyes open for Mortal. Keep them open. What else we got? We're talking about, so this is interesting. Columbia Pictures, they're bringing back one of our favorite franchises of all time, the Anaconda franchise.
Hell
Thank
yeah,
God.
baby.
Thank the
Oh,
gods.
God,
Thank the
dude.
sun.
Hasn't there
Praise be
like,
to the sun.
there's only been 3, I think.
Yeah, I think so. I've only seen the first one.
Does Anaconda Curse of the Black Pearl or something.
And they did a mashup with the Lake Placid Anaconda franchises too. They did like a
Ooh,
crossover.
I mean, I know it won a special effects Emmy.
I'm sure it did. So yeah, they're coming back with a new movie. Apparently, it's going to be hitting the big screen, which sounds ridiculous, but that's happening.
I mean, Crawl came out last year and people were digging on it, so
Dude, yeah,
True.
it's
yeah,
a
there's
little
been a lot
weird.
of shark movies too
yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
lately. Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
true. The Meg and all that shit. I don't know. Feel like I don't know. It doesn't feel like it has this like to bring back an older franchise in this particular like that there hasn't been a whole lot of like retreads like that within like the marine kaiju level
Yeah.
shark infested or gator or whatever, those kind of creature features that are like swamp gators and shit. Like there's not a whole lot of like, you don't see much beyond Piranha and those remakes. Like there's
Yeah.
usually come at fresh. I feel like even Sharknado, like
Also,
Sharknado was a
like-
fresh take on a dumb one, but it was.
If anything, like it's weird. Like there's certain animals that they want you to be scared of. Like, oh, it's a snake, and I guess like I don't have any like strong fears towards snakes. Now, if you made like
He's not
arachnophobia
human.
again, like if they made arachnophobia with like better like effects, then like sure, like spiders, fuck them. But like snakes, I don't know. I'm not like too.
How,
And
how
like
are they gonna get a river to flow backwards again?
I don't
guys
know.
remember that
Just
shit?
like don't go to the
No, I know.
Amazon. I guess.
There's some footage in Anaconda. I hope I'm remembering this right. I'm pretty sure this is right. I think it's Anaconda where they have some footage of like their boat going down the river, and then they show that same footage later, and it's going the other way, and the fucking waterfall behind them is flowing upwards.
Oh yes, that
It's
sounds
real good.
amazing. It's
That's real
That is
quality.
a John Voight movie. All right.
This is so Columbia Pictures is putting it out. It's going to be all new and all modern take on the classic Anaconda movie. It's being written by Evan Doherty, who wrote Snow White and the Huntsman, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and Tomb Raider. It's going to be a reimagining.
That doesn't sound
it's going to
good.
it's going to be a big budget. They actually name dropped the Meg. It's going to be like
That,
along the lines of the Meg. So,
and we all know how well that
Oh.
did on every level.
So China is going to be
really
heavily
well
involved
overseas.
then, is what you're saying.
Right.
So
Yeah, that's what
it's
I'm
a
saying.
half American, half Chinese expedition to the Amazon, is what you're telling me.
Could be. Maybe they'll bring like Jackie Chan into it or something. He's like killing
Kevin Hart's
going to
be there. I mean, I'm just
sweet
assuming
moves.
Kevin Hart will be there for
Oh
sure.
my god.
There's going to be
that would
one
be-
guy who speaks Chinese really poorly, and they're going to roll their eyes at him.
Oh shit.
I'm
So,
calling
we'll
it
see
now.
what the deal is with that. Last bit of news, we saw another trailer for a movie coming out called Vivarium, which stars Jesse Eisenberg and Imogen Poots. And this thing looks kind of like an episode of Black Mirror or something.
Kind of.
So,
the Twilight
they,
Zone or some shit.
Or
yeah,
Pleasantville.
Twilight Zone. They like move into like this like new suburban neighborhood, and it's like very very like futuristic kind of
They're
looking.
like forced to move in. They go look at a house.
Yeah,
Yeah, and it's a very cookie cutter house.
they try to leave and they can't, and then they like are forced to raise this baby, this infant, and that they're like then they get a note with it that says like raise this child and then we'll let you leave basically. So it's I don't know, man. It looks strange, and I don't really know how to describe it or what to compare
I'm
it to. But
interested.
I guess it's got some commentary going on about like capitalism and like parenting and whatnot. So, I don't know. We'll see.
The only like very obvious subtext that I saw was, let's buy a house. Oh no, we're caught in a trap, and it's called the house. Oh, and the house is now draining us of our life, and now we have to raise this thing. Oh no, what happened to my life? I don't get to do things anymore. This is a movie about becoming a suburban parent against your
Don't
will.
grow up. Don't start a family.
Yeah, that's right. Go out kicking.
Sounds like true horror to me.
Yeah. You ain't never gonna pin this juice down.
Yeah,
This
I
juice is
actually was
too
really
fluid.
Stains
I
run
was
too
really-
red.
I was really intrigued. Like it had like the guy who was selling the house is like really creepy, but also like they couldn't
Yeah.
escape, and they showed that in the trailer. They try to like burn the house down, and then like the baby shows up, and like they're just stuck in this neighborhood where there's like seemingly like no one else except there's like a shit ton of houses. So I'm curious, like, do they explore the other houses? Like, what's the dealio here?
I'm wondering how much of this movie we've actually seen, because when the kid showed up, I thought that the whole movie was going to be them trying to figure out their way out. Then a fucking kid shows up. I'm like, oh shit! Like there's going to be a whole substantial part of this movie them raising this kid. And
yeah,
like,
because
what-
then he turns
wondering
into
if
like
there's
a
even more.
6-year-old or something like that. Like he's a
Yeah.
baby. Does he grow rapidly? Are they there for 6 years? Or like what's the
like
deal?
I'm wondering if they like fuck up the neighborhood, and like it becomes like I'm wondering like if there's major shifts that happen later on.
I hope so.
I don't
It
know.
seemed
I feel
kinda
like this
maybe
could
like
this
a
is either like the
Truman
first 2 acts of this
Show.
movie, or it's just the first act, and there's a lot more to cover.
Yeah.
I got Truman Show vibes for sure.
Yeah.
I was
for sure.
intrigued by it though. I'm curious.
Yeah. It's dropping on VOD platforms March 27th, 2020. So keep your eyes out for Vivarium.
The V.
Yeah, I'm most intrigued by Jesse Eisenberg and Imogen Poots just being in a movie together, because they're both pretty fantastic actors. So I'm into that. I'm into it. That's all we got for news. We don't have any voicemails this week, but if you're listening and you'd like to call in and leave us a voicemail to be played on next week's show, you can hit us up at 904-638-3231.
Nobody told us if they would smash. Man.
Yeah.
That's so surprising.
What a shame.
So we posed a question last week. We were talking about Life Force. Justin posed a question, and it
Another
doesn't
bite
matter.
at that apple.
It doesn't
All
matter. Do you guys have any new questions to
Yeah, so-
pose?
Let's imagine that you are like these guys. I had this idea. You are like these people. You're going to your death, and you're in space. There's just 8 of you. You're out of communication. You may or may not make it back alive. Would you smash?
Oh my!
Wait, we
Would
need
you
more
smash?
setup
Would you
than that,
smash?
Randy. We need to know.
I'm sorry,
like,
I didn't.
some more
You cut me
ramble
off.
longer.
You called my bluff. You fucked me.
Captain
You got my
America's there.
spot
You're
real
thinking
hard.
he might smash, but you want to beat him to the smash.
Yeah, you're competing
You gotta
with Captain
beat
America.
Captain America
He's in
to
the
the
bunk
smash.
next to you, and you know what he's thinking. But there's this really
He's thinking
hot
about that
chick.
Rose Byrne,
She's kind of
baby.
on the fence. You don't really know.
Oh my god, the implication starts weighing in on this real soon.
You're not a real astronaut,
No.
but you made the bomb, so you're kind of respected. But Chris Evans, he's a real astronaut. And
We need about 20 more minutes of summer synopsis of this movie before we can say, "Would you smash?"
Would you smash? Jeez. Yeah. So no real questions, I'm assuming. I
Or
don't
would
know.
you
Yeah.
go after the bomb, or would you keep the course? Go after the bomb, or keep the course?
Go after the second bomb? Yeah, or keep
No.
the course. Yeah. Solid moral quandary. What would you do? Stay the course, veer off course, and get that second bomb. What would you do? Let us know. Leave us a voicemail at 904-638-3231. Hotline Scream! That's going to do it for us this week here at Straight Chilling. We're going to be back next week with a brand new show. We're still keeping the whole space theme alive into next
Keeping it
week.
alive.
This
Maybe.
this whole year, just fucking getting spacey with it.
God, we're gonna be
Kevin
some-
Spacey.
Oh,
Um,
no.
Not really.
that's
We already covered.
horrific.
Now that you've mentioned 2 predators now on the same podcast,
Sorry.
I'm pretty sure we're under watch now.
I think I take
You did, Bob. You did this.
This is
You
some bullshit.
personally.
We're talking about a new release next week. It's going to be our first new release of 2020, actually. We're talking about a movie called Color Out of Space.
Whoa! This was my
What
number
up?
1 on my most anticipated films this year. Color
Can't wait
Eyes.
for it to disappoint you. Somehow.
I know, yeah, I might be going in
Bring your-
Hollywood Bob style. Where
You
he
need to
just-
not go in so hot. Make sure your beer is good. A good beer. You trust the beer.
Bob Burger styles, am I right?
No.
You wish.
Now we're getting
We're,
sued by Fox. Great.
This
Guys,
is
call
a
me
new
Bob Burger.
call me Bob Burger. This is the new Spectrovision joint. It's starring Nick Cage. Color Out of Space. Check it out. Get ready for next week's show. I'm excited to see this thing. I'm looking
I hope
forward.
it
to it.
goes buck
Genuinely, I cannot remember a time that I was this excited to see a Nick Cage movie. I'll tell you that.
Whoa, Randy, cool it down.
I'm pretty excited. Yeah, I got to cool it too. I'm pretty interested.
Hollywood Randy.
They call me Starfucker Randy.
Damn.
Randy G. Quaid. So that's going to do it for us. Until next week, please rate, review, and subscribe to us on iTunes. You can follow us on Twitter at STR8_chilling, on Instagram at Straight Chilling Podcast. You can send us an email through our website, straightchillingpodcast.com. If you want to join our Slack channel, let me know on one of those social media outlets, and I'll send you a link so you can join in on the daily conversations. We talk about the movie of the week, TV shows, music, news, whatever we want. Watch Justin play video games on Twitch. Subscribe to our YouTube channel for video game reviews and behind-the-scenes footage of us making this show. Vote in the bracket of blood. Check out our mini casts, our sideshow. Let's Get Physical Media. We got a lot of stuff happening.
Bob,
Take full
real
advantage
quick,
of it.
since you mentioned,
Yeah, what's up?
it's the end of January. You've been doing Let's Get Physical Media. Last year, we had you pinned at an average of 22 Blu-rays a month. Do you think you have surpassed that this month with your Let's Get Physical?
Where did Bob go wrong? Where he and his friends sifted way too long through those Blu-ray bins, and it gets worse. He'll have no jet ski, wasting all his dough on those DVDs.
Welcome to our newly unretired segment, How to Save a Life.
Surprise segment, Bob. Do you think you've purchased more than your
Man.
average of last year's 22 Blu-rays a month?
You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to
What you gonna do?
say, if you want the answer to this question, you got to listen to the next episode of Let's Get Physical Media.
You're
where
going
we
to talk
will
about
discuss
top
Where did Bob go wrong? Where he and his
You
friends
cannot, you cannot play that song again.
What?
You cannot.
I'm sorry, I couldn't.
Where did Bob go wrong? Where he and his friends
Oh my God. Can't cannot.
Randy, you want to take the over/under on this? So you think Bob hit over
Oh,
22
man.
for January, or
I'm
under?
thinking this reaction is pretty big for the situation, so I'm going over. I'm going
Yeah.
over.
I think Bob definitely went over. Dude gets gift cards. He spent all his Christmas money. He's trying to impress the new crowd at Let's Get Physical Media. He's definitely
He's found his followers, and he thinks he's uncheckable. Well,
yeah. I think Bob go wrong? Bob,
there's no way I'm going to be able to go back in and recreate this, Randy. There's no possible way. I can't do it. You've done it.
I think you can.
Bob,
you can.
You definitely have watched the Blade trilogy, though, right?
Oh, lordy. Tune in to the next episode of Let's Get Physical Media. We'll talk about our pickups for the month of January. We'll see how many I bought. We'll talk all about it and get wild and crazy. But that's going to do it for us. We'll leave you on that cliffhanger.
All right.
Where did Bob go wrong? Who knows? Until next week, as always, all you mother truckers, please keep chilling.
All right, let me cue up the music here.
Where did Bob go wrong? Were he and his friends sifting way too long through those Blu-ray bins? And it gets worse, he'll have no jet ski, wasting all his dough on those DVDs.
I haven't given too much.